How the heck are you guys? I'm Fastidious. Welcome to the channel, and oh my god, the next fusion in Raid Shadow Legends was announced today. It begins next Thursday, and this lady has the goofiest, biggest headache of a kit in Raid Shadow Legends history. If anyone can think of a champion that has a sillier kit, please let me know in the comment section below. In this video, I will do a full breakdown of her entire kit. I'll go through all her skills, so you will learn a lot about her, though I will probably speculate at times in this video how good she could be. That's not the focus of this video. The focus of the video is how goofy this kit is, and frankly, how sorely I think it needs a change. So if I make myself a bit smaller, you can get a full picture of the new unit, who I honestly think looks incredible. She is a legendary attack-based champion from the Undead Hordes. Her name is Sanguine Maria. It doesn't take too much thought to figure out that she is Bloody Mary. And because they have based this new champion, this new fusion character, off of Bloody Mary, they have leaned into the number 3 so incredibly hard. However hard you think they've leaned into the number 3, I promise you it is 10 times that. This is so goofy and ridiculous. I honestly have been laughing about it the whole day. She is the headache to end all headaches in this game. So many players will skip her if this kit stays the same because they don't want that frustration and annoyance in their life. That frustration being dealing with this character, dealing with this champ's kit. So why does 3 relate to Bloody Mary? If you do not know, there is an old wise tale or myth or legend, whatever you want to call it, that if you look in the mirror and you say Bloody Mary 3 times, so Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, saying her name 3 times, oh look, that's the number 3, then she's going to appear and I think kill you or kill somebody. I don't know, but it's like a thing to scare children. So because they based this champion off of Bloody Mary, and because 3 is very important in that Bloody Mary legend, her whole kit is 3 this, 3 that, 33% this, 66% that, 99% that. It involves a tremendous amount of counting and tracking and probably a lot of guessing for a lot of players because you're not going to do that much counting and tracking, and it is so bizarre. There's actually a lot in this kit that could end up being really strong if you could control her properly, but I don't think you can. And I think even if you could, enough RNG can come into play in different pieces of content that it wouldn't matter. This is the goofiest kit of all time. Let's begin. Her A1, Hematic Blades, attacks one enemy 3 times. Off to a very 3 start. We've got a triple hitter, but nothing so crazy. The craziness begins now. After each hit, there's a 33% chance of granting an extra turn. Cannot gain more than 1 extra turn. Now, I will say this is probably the simplest and coolest implementation of the 3 in her kit. Yes, 33% chance is goofy, but that is per hit. There are 3 hits. It's actually pretty likely you'll grant that singular extra turn. I also think, based on how this reads, that you can still get extra turns granted from other means, like a Relentless or a Merciless set, but it is only that this skill particularly is capped at the single granting of the extra turn, like that secondary condition. So right off the bat, we've got 2 3-base things. We've got 1 enemy 3 times, and then we've got this 1/3 chance on each of the 3 hits. Not too crazy. It's weird, but it's not too crazy. I actually kind of like it. If she hits hard, this could be a really, really good move. Now for the A2, Sanguine Fissure. The wackiness fully begins. Attacks 1 enemy. Will ignore 33% of the target's defense. Single target move, ignores 1/3 of the defense, pretty cool. But what's this? It can ignore 99% of the defense? That is basically 3/3 or 100%. We'll take it. Full defense ignore. How do we make that happen? Wait, it also is going to ignore stone skin and block damage. How do we make this happen? Basically ignoring 100% of the defense along with stone skin and block damage buffs. What is the condition for this to happen? Well, that will happen instead if this skill is used on a turn number that is divisible by 3. What does that mean? Is that just counting her turns, or is it her and all her allies' turns, or is it all the turns of any unit on the field, ally or enemy? I think the latter is probably most likely, but no matter how you spin it, it's insanely ridiculous. How are you counting the turns? Like, how are you in a piece of combat, likely PvP is where you want to ignore things like stone skin and block damage, and you're supposed to count every single turn? unless they add some animation and it's just her turn and there's a way this like lights up, or maybe even if it includes everyone's turns, you get some kind of indicator. I seriously doubt they will do that. This is the most weird, twisted, RNG, difficult to track thing, I think, in the history of the game. Again, if you can think of anything else like this, let me know. Now, just to show you, there's limited content in Raid Shadow Legends where they count the turns for you. So let's turn this on auto for a second. This is on some random alt account, but Alice takes a turn, that's 1 turn. Then Kale takes a turn, that's another turn. Then this mob takes a turn, that's 3 turns. This mob, 4 turns. They're counting it for you, right? We've got a turn count right here. That's not common in like any piece of content in this game. In the Doom Tower, we get it. There might be I'm sure there are a couple other places I'm not thinking of immediately, but like in the main places, this would matter, like PvE content that is, you know, normal PvE content, and certainly arena. It's just not a thing. Let's check out Brutal Campaign, any campaign stage. Do they count the turns? No, they'll tell you at the end, but they don't count the turns, so that doesn't help us. That doesn't help us at all. Now, in a piece of dungeon content, again, random alt, please excuse me, but let's just hop into any stage. If we go here, yes, they do tell us our lowest turns ever taken. In dungeon content, you know, fairly standard PvE, they do count it, right? So this is a place we get to see turn 1, random alt account, as I said, turn 2, you get the picture. Here's going to be a turn 3. They're counting for us. That's pretty cool. However, in the most important piece of content you would want to be counting, the arena, it's not going to happen, right? That's not a feature in arena. Maybe they're going to add it with a patch that introduces her fusion. But I mean, look at this. That's turn 1 from War Master, then Gore Grab. There's no turn counter there. So I believe it's probably all the turns taken because that's how things typically are in this game. But currently, there is no way to count that. So let's focus back in on this A2 Sanguine Fissure. It could be really good. Like if this already hits hard at base, and then for starters, it's ignoring 1/3 of the defense, that's really strong. Then the moments when it does ignore 99% of the defense, so it only has to deal with 1% of defense, and it fully ignores stone skin and block damage, that could be really, really nice. But the fact that there's going to be no easy way to track it, at least in the version of the game we currently have, to know what if it's turn 3 or not, it's crazy. You can see here if the target is killed, which could happen normally, but likely will only happen when you're ignoring 99% of the defense, stone skin, and block damage. If that target is killed, you're going to increase the cooldowns of all enemy skills by 3 turns, and that is irresistible if the turn number is divisible by 3. So again, another reason you're going to want to know what the turn number is, because you are not going to want to build her with accuracy, since everything she does has conditions to be irresistible. So even if you do get a kill from ignoring 33% of the target's defense on a turn 1 or 2 or 4 or 5, so on and so on, something not divisible by 3, you're not going to get that irresistible effect when it comes to increasing all the cooldowns of all the enemy skills by 3. You're only going to get that if it's a turn number that is divisible by 3, so that will be really annoying. Again, you see these like portals behind her, maybe those glow based on the current turn of her, or if it's tracking everyone or the allies, whatever it is, and you know, maybe it lights up like blue, yellow, and then if it's green, you know that it's currently a turn divisible by 3. But aside from that, this is going to be a really, really impossible thing to track, in my opinion. Just to focus in on that skill one more time, you can book this down to a 3-turn cooldown. She's also a very, very light book investment. Only 8 skill tomes required. That's really nice. It's hard to get too excited when the kit is this strange. Let's go to the A3 now, a 4-turn cooldown. Again, that books down to a 3-turn cooldown. This move is called Gore Scream. She's going to attack one enemy. Before she attacks, she will remove all buffs from all enemies. So that is something that requires accuracy. However, of course, they had to fit in a lot of silly ways to fit in the number 3, so let's go over that now. This effect cannot be resisted by enemies if they have a number of buffs that is divisible by 3. So if they have 3 buffs, 6 buffs, or 9 buffs, this is an irresistible full strip. In those situations, that is really good, but like I said, usually you probably won't build her with accuracy. Maybe endgame builds you can casually get the 2, 3, maybe even 400 accuracy you need for a lot of PvE content and stuff like that. But I think in PvP, which is where I feel like they want us to use her, because she's kind of like this single target focused unit, ignoring lots of defense, ignoring certain buffs, you won't do that. So this is going to be a bit of a crapshoot as to where the buffs are and who's got 3, 6, or 9 buffs. A lot of times this isn't going to do anything. So back to the skill. The next part, it will attack all remaining enemies with less than 66% HP. So it becomes a full AoE after that initial hit, hitting all the other enemies that have 2/3 health or less. So once again, thirds, right? It's all 3s. Finally, it will grant an extra turn if this champion, Bloody Mary over here, Sanguine Maria, if she is under a number of buffs that is divisible by 3. So if she herself has 3 buffs or 6 buffs or 9 buffs, then she will get an extra turn after this. So when everything's happening, all the enemies have the right amount of buffs, she has the right amount of buffs, everything's divisible by 3, she's on third turns, this, that, and the other, this gets crazy, right? Assuming the multipliers are good. She's gonna do full strips that are resistible. She gets an AoE out of this. If she's on the right number of buffs, she gets an extra turn. Then she goes into this. Let's say it's turn 6 at that point. Now she's doing a single target nuke that's ignoring stone skin block damage and all but 1% of defense, ignoring 3/3 of the defense. Basically, it's putting all the enemies on cooldown, so on and so on. Then with the A1, she's got this triple hitter that has a very high likelihood to guarantee an extra turn. This is very, very nice. But I don't see how we're going to interact with this in any normal, enjoyable way, at least as the game currently stands, and if she doesn't have some kind of visual tracker. Like I said, maybe these portals glow in some way, but even still, counting all the buffs on the enemies, counting the buffs on her, that's weird. It's just so weird. By the way, I did the math for anyone wondering, and over those 3 hits with her A1, the chance that one of them grants her the extra turn is going to come out to nearly 70%. It's 69.9%. 69.9% of the time, basically 70% of the time, she is going to grant herself the singular extra turn from that skill, from the A1. Now, finally, the passive. I know a lot of you guys are probably getting sick and tired of this backwards ass kit and are tired of 3 and a third and 2/3 and 3 buffs and 6 buffs and 9 buffs and whatever, sick of all these multiples of 3s and things divisible by 3, so on and so on. Well, nothing changes with the passive. Say her name. Say her name. That's the name of the passive. Obviously, it is referencing the legend we discussed where you have to say her name 3 times. Let's get into the passive. Each subsequent hit from this champion deals 33% more damage, so she has very good natural damage ramping in her kit. It can stack up to 99%, basically a 2x boost on damage. It will reset every time after the 99% damage bonus is applied. So now you have to track every single time she is dealing damage if you want to know exactly what's going on. Right? You need to be like, all right, she's dealt damage once, so now it's a 33% boost. Okay, she just dealt damage again. Now we're up to a 66% boost, and okay, there's the third time, so now she's boosted 99%. Then she does it, you know you're back to 0, and you keep going with that. Moreover, you got to count every time she gets hit, because each subsequent hit this champion receives deals 33% less damage, which is really cool because once she's taken 3 hits, the next hit will have 99% of the damage mitigated. It is essentially a block damage buff that she innately is placing on herself, but it's not a buff, so it can't get stripped. It's just a really cool effect. Unless they put up block passive skills or something, you're going to benefit from this, I think, 1 every 4 turns, right? You get the initial hit, the next hit, 33% is mitigated, the next hit 66, finally 99%. She only takes 1% of the normal amount of damage she would have received. This again is going to reset after that 99% damage reduction takes place. So just another completely wild and wacky thing you have to track. Finally, a very cool second part of the passive. Of course, they fit in the 3s, but this part is way more normal and consistent. You'll see whenever an enemy is revived, this champion will be revived with 1/3 HP and 2/3 turn meter. So 33% HP and 66% turn meter. There's no turn or buff condition. They're just finding another way to shoehorn in 3 and multiples of 3 and thirds and 2/3 and so on and so on. This is actually a really cool passive. After being revived, places a True Fear debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, and believe it or not, that AoE True Fear, when she is revived, is fully irresistible, it cannot be blocked, and it has nothing to do with the number 3. So we end on a pretty happy, normal note with the second part of that passive, particularly that final line. That all being said, this kit is so insanely weird. Her aura skill, of course, fits in the number 3 as well. She's going to increase all ally attack in all battles by 33%. We got 2 more 3s in there, and it's also a third. You get it. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Go on and go on and go on. 3s left and right, thirds left and right. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. That is the Sanguine Maria story. I'll give you these concluding thoughts. If there is a way to track this stuff, it's kind of cool, particularly the turn numbers. I like that. I will say, I hope it's like some visual thing behind her with these portals lining up. That would be something, and it'd make everyone's life a little easier. But even still, it's very weird. Even if they add the turn counter to content like campaign and especially arena, I think some people will get annoyed by the math. I think it's hard for a lot of people to know that, let's say that 81 divided by 3 is 27. I think a lot of people don't just do quick math like that and imagine if the number is insanely high, like 291. So I think there needs to be some kind of system like that. I will also say, and this is where I will leave it, if she hits insanely hard at base, this kit is just good regardless of anything. And all of a sudden, she's going to do very crazy boosted things. And if you're not keeping an eye on it, you won't know why. But if the baseline is she already deals good damage, I mean, there's so many ways the damage can ramp in this kit. You know, half the time she'll deal the normal good damage, then she'll deal a third more than that, then she'll deal 2/3 more than that, then she'll basically 2x it, then back to square one. With the A2, she's always ignoring at least a third of the defense. Sometimes it's just way more, and she's ignoring stone skin and block damage. You know, you get the kills sometimes, and if it was the full ignore, you're getting that crazy cooldown increase. She's getting extra turns all the time. This move over here might be a very good AoE very often, depending on the health of the enemies, the A3. You know, if the baseline is that she deals good damage, then the kit is all gravy. It's just very confusing gravy, but you'll take it. If she doesn't deal good damage at base, and I can't imagine she will with all the fun little conditions they put in here, I'm just going to assume her multipliers are at best average at base. I think this is too much of a headache for a lot of players. So there you go. The biggest headache in Raid Shadow Legends history. If you've got another nominee, let me know below. This is so shockingly goofy. I can't believe it. This would be a much better April Fool's fusion, in my opinion, than a Halloween fusion. But who knows? Maybe they've got visual indicators. Maybe they change things before official release. But please do let me know your thoughts below. I'd love to chat about this weird lady. At the end of the day, she looks cool, and at least the kit's very interesting. It's not some boring-ass thing, but it is backwards ass. And that is where we'll leave it. If you're not yet playing Raid, download today. Get some nice, amazing, normal kit-styled champions using my link in the description in the top and comment. 4 insane champions basically immediately, including Deacon Armstrong, who you literally get immediately. Like 2 minutes into the tutorial, he'll be in your mailbox waiting. It is the best link in the land. You will not regret it. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I've been Fastidious. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.